Hello, this is Mr. Carvajal again, and we're going to have a video lecture on notes number 5 on Pearl Harbor. Now, there is a couple questions that we're going to discuss in this video lecture and in the notes in detail. So right now, what I need you to do is get your notes out and have them in front of you. One of the things that I'm going to ask for you to do, as we've done in class the whole year, is I want you to annotate them. I want you to do talking to the text. And again, talking to the text, just in case you don't remember, is you need to write down anything that comes into your head, probing questions, anything that confuses you. I want you to ask questions that will be answered into the lecture notes. So you need to get that in front of you before we start. So there's a couple questions that Pearl Harbor notes will answer. First is, why did Japan attack the United States? Secondly, why did they attack at Pearl Harbor, naval base in Hawaii? And we'll discuss a few more details after that. So first question is, why did they attack the U.S.? Well, primarily the reason why they attacked the U.S. is because the U.S. was in their way of what they wanted to build. The Japanese military government looked at Europe and they saw what Hitler was building, a Western European empire. They saw Stalin on the east and his European empire. And guess what? They wanted their empire as well, but in Asia. So they wanted to build an Asian empire. The problem for Japan was that it's an island, not a lot of natural resources, lots of mountains. So in order to build an empire, you have to have natural resources. And just in case you don't remember, natural resources are materials that come out of the ground. Oil, coal, gold, especially vegetation for food. So they needed territory. Well, next to them is China. Big, huge China. Lots and lots of land, tons of natural resources. So what Japan thought was, if we combine these two together, that would be the beginning of a new superpower and a new Asian empire. So with the way Japan looked at China, it's like a hungry wolf looks at a chicken, and they just wanted to eat it up. So they actually do. They start invading in China. They start in northern China, and they're working their way down until the U.S. gets involved. 1937, the United States gets in and tells them, you have to get out. Now, why would Japan listen to the U.S.? And what is the U.S. doing on the other side of the world, all the way over there in China, stopping Japan from taking over China? Now, first of all, it's a trading thing. We trade with China. That means money. Money equals power. So for us, if we lose China, the trading in China, our economy will suffer, and thus our power will suffer, so we can't let that happen. So we get in the way. Now, we threaten Japan. If they don't get out of China, we will stop trading oil with them. Oil is a very important part of building an empire, and the Japanese simply didn't have it. So very angrily, very reluctantly, they went out of China, but they didn't forget. So at this point, Japan leaves China, not happy because the U.S. got involved. And the reason they were afraid of the U.S. because of the powerful Pacific fleet, all the Pacific ships that they had that would have stopped them in China. So there goes to the second question. Why attack at Pearl Harbor? Because that's where the Pacific fleet was stationed. Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Now the idea is, if the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor and destroyed all those Pacific ships, which of course the Pacific fleet is responsible for protecting the Pacific Ocean, and China is in the Pacific Ocean, therefore, by Pacific fleet, hello China. So they attacked at Pearl Harbor. So the number one reason why they attacked at Pearl Harbor was because it was the home base of the Pacific fleet. Second, they knew that an attack at Pearl Harbor would cripple the U.S. Navy and who would stop them from taking over China. So therefore, we want China, we need to get rid of this Pacific fleet, and then nobody will stand in their way. And third, this attack at Pearl Harbor was actually a 5-step plan. Step 1, attack Pearl Harbor. They did that. Step 2, go back to Asia, conquer China. They did that too. Because 6 months after Pearl Harbor, when all those ships were down, the Japanese were able to do whatever they wanted because the U.S. couldn't stop them. Step 3, start conquering all the islands, heading back to Hawaii. It's called island hopping, and they did that too. Step 4 would be an invasion of Hawaii, not just attacking it like they did in step 1, but actually taking it over, taking the military into Hawaii. And step 5 would be an attack on western United States and mainland, meaning Washington, Oregon, and especially California. So it was a 5-step plan. They got step 1, they got step 2, they got step 3. Before they could do step 4, which was the invasion, the United States got back on their feet. Now, why did the United States get back on their feet? Let's talk about the attack itself. The attack happened on December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. And we'll talk about that infamy thing a little bit later on. But that day, they chose the perfect day. It's a Sunday. Why is Sunday so perfect? Because they chose it early in the morning. One, there's a lot of people who wake up early and go to where? Come on, think, Sunday morning. Where do people go? That's right, church. Plus, at this point, we're not at war yet. So our military is there at Pearl Harbor. A lot of it is training. A lot of it is getting ready just in case we do go to war. So Saturday night, young guys away from home, all in one beautiful place like Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, they go out and have fun. And if you have fun at night and you maybe do a little too much fun, you wake up the next day and you don't want to wake up early. Or you wake up with a headache. So they thought Sunday morning would be perfect, and it was. And their original plan was 2 invasions, 2 attacks. Attack 1 would have them leaving the ships, flying and splitting into 2 groups, heading into Pearl Harbor, attack, and then landing at Pearl Harbor and attacking. And then coming back to the ship, reloading, and then attack 2 would commence. They had a list of accomplishments that they wanted to do while they were there. Well, they picked the perfect time, and the U.S. was so unprepared that their first attack was way more successful than they envisioned. They went in, they hit, and they destroyed more. Lots of ships destroyed, sunk. The Arizona being the first and the most famous, and there's a memorial that you can see on one of the pictures. If you look at the picture on the left side. But they destroyed more than they envisioned. So, do they come back for the second run? The second attack? They thought, if we come back, they're going to be ready, they're going to shoot us down. So instead they decided to cancel the second attack because their first attack was so good. That ended up being a big mistake. And why was it a big mistake? Big mistake because they missed 3 very valuable targets that are going to allow the U.S. to come back. First of all, repair docks. Why repair docks? What do you do with repair docks, by the way? Think about that really quick. Okay, let's go. Repair docks are places where you fix ships. And yes, the Japanese attacked and destroyed many ships, but they also injured or heavily damaged several ships. Well, if you want those damaged ships to go again, where do you take them? Repair docks. So they fixed some of the ships too. They did not destroy the fuel station. So those ships need massive amounts of fuel, and they were able to keep their fuel because they didn't go after the fuel stations, which all these 3 missed were on the second attack that they canceled. And lastly, aircraft carriers. Well, the U.S. had 2 major aircraft carriers in the area. One was off to sea, so they weren't going to get that one. But there was one in Hawaii. It was on the other side of Pearl Harbor, and they missed that one. And those 2 aircraft carriers will be huge in the upcoming war of the Pacific against the Japanese. So as a result of them missing those 3 valuable targets, the United States was able to get back on their feet in about 6 to 7 months. So instead of destroying the Pacific Fleet like they had planned with their attack, they only severely damaged it. So they took a big punch in the face. They went down, but they got back up. And after they got back up, the United States and Japan will get involved in the War of the Pacific, which we'll get to in December 7th. So December 8th, 1941, the day after, FDR, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, will give his famous infamy speech in which he asks and urges Congress to declare war. And they do. They declare war on Japan and Germany as well. So there is our entrance into World War II. World War II started September 1st, 1939, and we don't go in until 2+ years later. But we're in, and now we're in a 2-front war. Thank you very much. If you have any questions on this lecture, please send me a message, and I will clarify anything you need. Thank you.